Welcome to That's So Intimate,
a podcast where we explore living well through deep, curious conversations.
I'm Sarah, guide at Rad Intimacy, inviting you to remember your sacred self.
I'm Bryan, a guide at Sadhana Yoga School, where we share wisdom for life.
Let's get intimate.
Imagine if we did the whole thing and then realized we didn't record it.
That's what I just said.
It all would have been for nothing.
All for nothing.
And here we are talking about play, and that's kind of like we do something without a specific outcome, right?
Right. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we can be, I guess it's funny because part of the definition of play is to have no desired outcome.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but we definitely would have a desired outcome for this conversation. Not like we know where we're going with it, but that we want to record it.
There has to be a little productivity in with our play today. That's funny.
So I'm looking at
Right.
one thing on play. It says researchers often define play as voluntary, self-motivated activity done for its own sake, marked by enjoyment, curiosity, and a sense of time slipping away. The last part is interesting.
Time slipping away. That's so fun.
Is it fun if time's slipping away?
Well, think about its opposite, right? Like you've been waiting for something where I don't know if it's that you're bored or you're stressed or you're just not enjoying what you're doing and it just seems like things take forever. I think that is very unpleasant. Whereas, a whole day goes by and you've had fun. Isn't there a
Ooh,
saying like that?
time flies when you're having fun.
That's what it is. Ding
Yeah.
ding.
So when time is flying by, that's kind of a sign maybe we're playing or we're having fun. Are we always playing when we're having fun? Or is there
Hmm.
fun without play? There's fun without play, right? Because we can have fun doing something goal-oriented.
I don't know. I kind of feel like they have to go together a little bit.
But
Trying to think of what's
we can play and not have fun. Like failed play.
hmm. Yeah, so we talked about that a little bit when we were kind of coming up with a concept for a retreat around a sandbox. And we were just thinking, childhood play within this container. Usually it's like this square box on the ground that's full of sand. And you just sit and you build and, you know, maybe the structure doesn't hold or you don't like it. So you destroy it and you start over. And that whole concept of trying things and being creative and maybe even being silly and have it like not go the way you intend and having that be kind of part of the process though. So is failing fun usually? No, but like the creative process could be fun. I don't know. Interesting.
And then we also have structured play versus unstructured play. Structured play, I'm thinking like, is a play a lot of adults do. Like I play pickleball. It's structured. Like we show up and at a certain time, we're on a certain court that's designed to the exact inch. And we are playing by certain rules. So that's structured play. And then we have unstructured play, which is just like the kids, a couple nights ago, I found this bucket and then we had these random balls and they just made up this game to toss the ball in the bucket. Like they invented this cool game.
Mm-hmm.
It's been played a million times, but they invented it again for the first time to, just in the living room, toss his balls in the bucket.
I definitely think it heightens the experience of play when you must use your own creativity to make something more fun. Meaning, if you're given a certain toy that functions in a particular way, then it doesn't really allow you to like approach it with creativity, right? But when you're given a bucket and, no lid, just a vessel, basically, right? Then you have to think about, okay, what do I want to do with this bucket? Like, what could I do with this bucket? Could I turn it upside down? Could I throw things inside? Could I roll it around? I mean, you know what I mean? I think some of the thinking about what's possible is some of the fun of of the play, and it makes me think that like the the toy industry in some ways keeps us from that by saying, here's this thing and there's one way to play with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get that. Like with the bucket and there's different balls, there was no rules. Like, so it was just play. And then they kind of like came up with these different variations. So
Mm,
first you have to bounce the ball before it goes in the bucket, or you have to bounce the ball twice, or you can't bounce the ball, or I don't know, if you get 2 in a row, then you get a point, or they were just making it up as they go, so there's a lot of play in that, or that creativity in that
mm,
play. Whereas if we were to package this amazing invention of a bucket and some balls and sell it and say, "This is how you play," it would be feel different.
mhm.
Like, they actually started we are doing this little ring toss, and that lasted for a little bit, but it was kind of more structured, and it wasn't as fun because it didn't have that creative aspect because it was more defined, like,
Right.
toss the ring on the post.
And so I'm thinking there might be some elements that enhance play, like the ability to have an open-ended kind of create it yourself option,
Mhm.
like the one you just described. And I think when it involves some somatic experience as well. Like you're moving your body in some sort of way, in addition to maybe some creativity. That's why there's such good research about dance because you are, I just saw recently a quote about how dance is a communication between your mind and your body. And especially, I think personally, dance that doesn't have a particular choreography can be really fun because it allows you to decide what's next. It's like, the bucket analogy. But some people can find more play within a container of, oh, I know that we're going to do salsa dancing and I can still decide what movements to do. And maybe even I have a partner that I can play off of and create some connection with through this like playful movement, you know?
Yeah, I like that analogy. Like, yeah, when I think about dancing, I feel more comfortable if it's structured and I'm kind of like know what the bounds are.
Yeah.
And I'm almost thinking like it takes maybe more, I don't know if skill's the right word, maybe creativity, skill at a certain type of creativity. Because I think about like with the bucket and the ball, it takes a certain amount of creative skill to be able to come up with a game of what are we going to do with this and to just think
Mhm.
outside the box and to make it up as you go. And if you have that skill and that ability to do that, then you can start playing anywhere, anytime, and have the confidence that you can play and have fun. Whereas if you don't have that skill, you might be, I don't know, like not sure where to start, not sure how to do it, and you can't actually get that play going. So, like in that case, having structure, like what to do, will really help in that regard. Which I think is why, yeah, like, I guess we have certain places that we go, the dance is, even if it's open-ended dance, I don't know what that's called, but you still go to a certain place and say like, "Oh, we're dancing now. This is where we're
Yeah.
dancing." We don't just dance down the street.
But
Mm,
you could.
you could, and some people do, and we love to see
Mhm.
them, but, I mean, I guess to my point, most of us don't feel comfortable doing that. We don't have that skill of
Yeah.
just total creative dance in any situation. And I mean, I'm just thinking about the kids, like having that ability to have creative play with any, let's say, object or two objects or idea. And I don't know, it can be quite a thing of confidence to know that you can play in any situation and that you don't need any specific thing to play. Whereas if we don't have that foundation, then having lots of structured play can really enhance that.
Yeah. It's making me think one thing we didn't really address with the definition of play is there has to be willingness. And I think often for young children, it just feels almost like your natural, nature to be playful, curious, and engaged in that way. At some point, our culture kind of teaches us away from that when we grow up. But I guess I'd say specifically in adulthood, it's this like willingness and openness to engaging with life, like in this light, curious, creative, kind of, playful way where you might look silly, you might look ridiculous, and it's vulnerable to know that somebody could be laughing at you instead of with you, and yet you're going to do it anyway. So you have to be like willing to meet that moment to say yes to the playfulness and to maybe let your guard down a little bit, right? About am I going to be perceived as so silly that I'm dumb and can't be taken seriously? Do you know what I mean? There's like these stigmas around, are you using play as a tool of avoidance or because you're not intelligent enough to do it a serious way? But I think the willingness to show a part of yourself that is silly is an ultimate way to connect with another person, because you're saying, "I'm cool with failing and looking ridiculous. How about you?"
Yes, I guess like with play comes, since we're not necessarily doing it for a certain outcome, maybe it leads to more failures. So then it's more vulnerable in that way. Whereas if we
Mhm.
go with just what's structured or what's expected, or if we work on tasks, we can complete them and then we're gonna have more wins. That's interesting.
I remember I think it was our first date where we, went out in town versus our first few dates were like in nature and stuff like that. But we walked to town, and one place we kind of hopped around some different bars and restaurants, and we decided to play truth or dare. And so
We
what I
decided.
loved about I decide, is that what you're saying? Did I suggest it?
And I voluntarily went along.
Well, I guess that's what I was going to talk about is the fact that you were willing to meet me there in a place where we could dare each other to do something probably silly or embarrassing or funny, that you were willing to engage in that kind of play was like, "Ooh, I love this," right? Because some people really have their guards up about that and they like won't, certainly in public, do anything like that. And you went out in the middle of the street. It was safe. There weren't cars coming, but he went out in the middle of the street and did a handstand, and I have a video of it. And I'm like, how cool is that? Like, right? And I was like, this guy's a keeper. Not only can he do a handstand, but he'll do it for like all the people at this bar to watch him. I think you got some applause after, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, interesting, like dare, you know. So anytime we do a dare, that's play, in a way. Like it's like I dare you. Like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm taking that on and playing along.
Yeah. I took on your dare to plunge. That was kind of like an activity that was yours that I was like, ooh, like my hands and feet get cold easily. I don't know if me like jumping into cold water is like a great idea. I was a little hesitant. I had done it once before, but then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. So I don't know. It's a little bit brave in a way, I think. to be playful in adulthood in certain circumstances.
Yeah, so that playful in that regard is like openness to trying new things
Exactly.
with a
Yeah.
true unknowing of how it's gonna be and like an openness to letting it be how it is rather than
Right.
going and saying like, I don't think I'm gonna like this, so I'm not gonna do it. It's more like, I've never done this. Let me see what it's like.
Mhm.
And I think that's a skill to be able to approach a situation with that perspective.
And if it's a skill, are there certain things that you can do, you think, to warm up and expose yourself in smaller ways? Like maybe just when you're home alone with yourself, try to do something silly so that when you're with, and then maybe next time it's like with somebody you trust, and then maybe you're willing to do it in public later. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think the best way to build the skill of playing is to have a kid.
Just go out there,
Go out
get
there, you
pregnant.
get a kid, and you play with them, and, I mean, parents will just do absolutely anything to entertain their really young kid, and it's
Yeah.
play. It's just, like, making sounds, making movements,
Mm,
tossing them in the air,
I think
doing
about
everything
when
playing.
when the kids are like real young, the first 6 months or so, that you can just make a silly face at them and they'll giggle or smile or, and it's like so easy. You're like, why would I not do that? This beautiful little baby will smile back at me like beaming if I make this ridiculous face. Cool. I'm definitely doing that. And it's like I want to get into the mental health benefits of play, but my goodness, like what that does for a boost of like those feel good hormones when you see a baby smile because you were willing to do something silly.
Mhm.
That's reward right there and connection building, right? So, when I was looking at some of the most recent research on adult playfulness, what are the benefits? One statistic really stood out to me, which the World Health Organization says that anxiety and depression has increased 25% worldwide since the pandemic. So, only just in the last 5 years. 25% is staggering. And there's lots of evidence that a playful approach can help ameliorate the impacts of anxiety and depression.
Yeah, for sure. Play boosts mood, builds our resilience. We can cope better.
So, some of the benefits for mental and emotional health: playful activities will trigger endorphin release, reduce cortisol, which is that stress hormone, and promote relaxation. It helps adults cope with stress and it lifts mood. And if playfulness is considered a trait in adulthood, it is associated with higher life satisfaction, greater emotional stability, and lower negative affect, meaning like less worry, anxiety, and helplessness.
Yeah, so that's listing it as a trade. I was thinking of it more of a skill, but I guess maybe a trade's similar, but it's like it's something that we can cultivate and then we'll naturally kind of integrate more into our life if we have that trade or skill.
I just posted something on social media. I'm going to see if I can find it, but basically said that for something to become a trait, it has to go through these various steps, beginning with intention and then practice and so on, so that it just becomes a part of who you are. So I think you're not wrong that it's definitely a skill, but it's like you have to intend to build more playfulness into your life to approach certain aspects or all of your life with more play. And then as you continue to practice it, it becomes a skill and then it just becomes part of who you are. I think that makes sense to me.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, some exercises that deliberately increase playfulness can reduce depressive symptoms and increase happiness.
So it makes me think like everyone, we should be just be playing more
Absolutely. Yeah. What's your favorite kind of play?
pickleball.
Can you list any more than that?
Uh, I like I like playing outside, just like throwing things around. It could be a ball or it could be a stick or could be a snowball.
Mm,
I like, yeah, building things, playful, building a snow castle or, hmm, I like playing with words, like making jokes,
yeah.
just playing in my head. Most of the jokes are just me playing. They're probably not that funny in reality, but it's playful for me to do it. I think that's play. I like playing things like hide and go seek or things, where there's that uncertainty of if you're going to be found or when you want to be or when you're going to be found or if you're looking. That's playful.
Hmm.
I like playing just like board games or card games. Those I find it's like something to do. I like the structured aspect of that actually, where you're doing
Hmm.
something and then it allows the conversation to be kind of secondary, which puts less pressure on it, which I find actually allows it to be a little bit more organic and natural and comfortable. If
Yeah.
we have this play as the primary thing where there's no goal other than just to be there and have fun. And then I find kind of the secondary result is that we can have whatever organic conversation happens in a very comfortable environment. So I like that aspect of play. That's probably the best thing that I like about play is that if you get together with someone and just play, then that's good enough. And then any conversation or connection that comes on top of that is just a bonus. Whereas if I just get together with someone and there's like, let's connect, let's catch up, or, what's going on, it seems like a lot of pressure for me to sometimes figure out what's really going on. So I like the kind of almost the distraction of play in a way. And,
Yeah.
just as I'm thinking about it, maybe it is because, that play, I got the endorphins going, I got lower cortisol, I got the reset from the pressure in my brain, my mood is boost. I'm more resilient. I have improved cognitive flexibility, creativity, problem solving. Like when I play, I am kind of rewiring my brain or setting my brain up for a certain situation. So then connecting or talking with somebody else is easier when I'm priming my brain for that or in that way.
Hmm. Well, I'll list some of my favorites.
Oh yeah, what are some of your favorite plays?
Hmm. As I mentioned earlier, love dance. That tends to be the place where I can be the most expressive and free and just moving however I want. And it's, yeah, again, usually just like free form movement. And, the music that goes along with it is really fun for me. There's a type of dance called contact improv. I'm not very good at it, but I've done it a handful of times, and that involves another person, and it's not choreographed, and you are like kind of you'll like touch a body part, like say like shoulders, and like kind of roll. I don't know, it's hard to explain. But it's playful interaction with another person. It's definitely like silly and fun and expressive and maybe even artistic. I I love to be the recipient of humor, meaning like watching or experiencing something funny. I don't think I'm a funny person, but enjoy being silly. So
Mhm.
like just bringing out aspects of myself that are like more lighthearted and just bubbly, I guess more like air energy kind of. I don't know. I feel like I can do that maybe more with like girlfriends or I don't know. It feels like a feminine flow energy to me. And then flirting and physical intimacy, I think, is a really fun way to play, right? So it's kind of using wordplay. You were kind of talking about that before and finding ways to kind of entice each other. And then with like touch and how you touch each other and all of that can be played. They say foreplay, literally, right?
Mhm.
So that's always like a beautiful dance where if you're willing to be sometimes more silly or open to new things, you can find pleasure in ways that you didn't think of, right? And that involves that like playful lens, I think.
Yeah, I love that list. Interesting to think about foreplay and how it's perceived in our culture because we're saying that play is like has no goal. It's like it's just play for itself, right? Whereas often we think of foreplay as having as like a precursor to something. We're working to something. And
Yeah,
it's kind of
exactly.
a challenge in our sexual connection with people if we say something is foreplay and then something is the main event as to
Exactly.
having a playful attitude throughout everything. Like, let's play, connect, and see where it goes. There's no now we're playing, now we're doing the thing. It's like it's all could be play, and that's probably going to be well, I guess more organic in a way.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love thinking about any physical intimacy as just play, right? So everything from sexual acts to flirting and everything in between, right? That it's all just you're just playing in a different capacity with someone else, with consent, assuming all those things are present. And yeah, it's just a different way to play, right? You might have like whimsical, lighthearted play with your kids, and you might have intimate play with like a partner or another person, like or yourself. So there's a lot of different ways to bring play into your day. And I think if we're assuming that a lot of listeners have a maybe more traditional 9 to 5 job or are working a good chunk of their weekdays hours, like thinking about how to add more play, lightheartedness to your work is an interesting thing to play with too. It's funny, I just used the word play almost synonymous with like experiment with, right? That's interesting too.
Yeah, play does mean to play with an idea, to experiment with an idea.
Mhm.
There's that sense of we're not sure the outcome, which is why I think we can call, a formal game like a soccer game play because the outcome is unknown.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess the outcome of most things are unknown. So maybe we're playing
at life.
at life and it's just
Yeah.
whether or not we have an attitude to play that, that we, and then we get those benefits. If we think it's very serious and we're approaching it from that perspective, it doesn't feel like play. So we don't get the benefits of play. Whereas if we approach it with the mindset that this is play, then we get those benefits. It's a very
Mhm.
different attitude. You talked about consent, thinking about even when we're just using words, joking with someone, it's only, I don't know, kind or really appropriate if both parties are consenting to the joking, right? It's like we can't play with someone if they're not consenting to play. Otherwise, it's like got some little ickiness to it. If I'm just
Mhm.
playing around joking, making some jokes, and then the other person's not really participating in the play, it's kind of like a joke at their expense in a way. Whereas if they're like, "Yeah, let's joke. Let's just have fun,"
Mhm.
then I don't know, it's just a lot more kind. So I always think about that with my son. I'm like, just like make sure, like check with the other people. Like it's fine to throw a snowball at someone, but make sure that they're into that. It's only
Mm,
fun
mhm,
if they think it's fun. Because if it's not fun, if they're not consenting, but if they're like, yeah, you can try to hit me with a snowball, then game on. But if they're not consenting, it's not fun. It's not play. It's something else. So even in not just a sexual context, but I think in any context, like consent with others that we're playing with is important.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's like I was saying, where I used a different word earlier, which is willingness. Like, you have to be willing to participate to be playful, but also it should be respected if you or another person is not feeling willing. And it might just be in this moment, in this context, I'm not willing to be playful, but catch me in an hour or tomorrow and it might be different, right? So
Mhm.
just kind of being aware aware of that. And I mean, I suppose you just like with consent, you could just ask outright, is I'm feeling silly or playful. Can we joke about this? Can we add some lightheartedness to this?
Yeah.
And depending on what it is, they can agree or disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, even with a deep conversation or something that, really sad comes up, in life, sometimes it can be appropriate to make light of it and see it in different contexts. Sometimes it's appropriate to like really sink in and feel the depth of it. But yeah, checking in with the other person and see where they're willing to go with it.
So I think this is a good segue to talk about how play can create stronger social bonds and relationships. Like, see what the research says about that. So, group play, for example, increases social connectedness, mutual support, and a sense of belonging. That makes a lot of sense to me. So, whether that's over, a card game, a sport, or something else, it it helps you feel like some more belonging. If you can laugh and be willing to be playful, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I think one of the best
It,
ways for people to connect with other people is to find ways to play with them, for sure.
right, like find what you mutually would enjoy,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah,
offer that up.
think about what you like to do and how you like to play, and then go find a group and play with them. Even if you don't know them, right? Just like playing with them is gonna create a bond.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you can do that with wordplay or, in conversation with someone that you just have met, maybe. Or if you're meeting in the context of, you mentioned pickleball or, going for a plunge, like, you're doing that activity so you can, have like a joke or be extra playful doing whatever the activity is. And it says during playful activities, adults tend to show more spontaneous interaction, empathy, and willingness to take social risks, which can deepen relationships and community ties. That's interesting. I was saying how I thought play was brave. And so, quite literally, they're calling it a social risk. I like that. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, it almost like creates a little lubrication that it's easier to take that risk because
Hmm.
we're playing. I think about how this might come out even playing pickleball, like somebody might like do a little skip or a little, I don't know, just something little funny, little dance that they wouldn't do if we're just like, I don't know, at the dinner table, with some bunch of friends. Whereas if we're playing and doing it and they're excited, they might, yeah, add in some more play or take that
Yeah.
risk or share more about their lives where they wouldn't in other contexts.
Yeah. And in our closer relationships, it's play play can be a pathway to like deeper intimacy. So the ability to like reduce stress and anxiety and increase trust, which is something you don't normally think of. Oh, I could play and it would build trust. And I wonder if it's about that social risk a little bit. Like I'm willing to kind of show myself to you and risk failing or looking ridiculous. And then maybe you trust me more.
Yeah, I think there's a sense of really seeing more our authentic selves when we play, and it puts everyone on an even, I don't know, even status, you know? It's like we might come into a conversation and somebody knows more about the topic, so then it's not really a even, it's like one person's the default, "You know more about this than I do, but let's talk about it." It's different, you know? Or maybe one person is higher up in a job, so then there's that power imbalance. Whereas when we're playing, it, like, resets a lot of that, and everyone's on the same, like, level playing field in a way in the other aspects. I mean, maybe in the play, somebody's more experienced in that play, but if
Hmm.
everyone's willing to play, it's just like a totally new game, so it's fresh in a way. It creates a freshness in even a long-term relationship.
And it can even be used as a tool for conflict resolution. I mean, you want to be sure to take whatever the issue is somewhat seriously, like that you're addressing it and trying to resolve it and move through the conflict and feel like both sides are heard and all of that. But like bringing levity to it can actually is proven to help couples navigate this tension and foster like a positive regard for each other moving through conflict.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. One last category of benefit for play is just basically overall well-being as it relates to like physical health and aging and stuff like that. So I just want to highlight some of those things too. So in older adults who are engaged in enjoyable leisure activities, it's associated with better physical strength, flexibility, balance, posture, and endurance, alongside improved sleep and weight management. Basically, play, you'll be healthier later, right?
Every aspect.
Right? Everything. And it will reduce risk of chronic disease if you engage in certain types of play or leisure activities like walking, swimming, cycling, team sports, something that involves cardiovascular health and muscle strength. So that's great.
Yeah, creating play in our physical movement or physical exercise is huge. It's a double win.
Hmm. So it's like both physical health, but then also it improves overall well being and happiness,
Yeah.
and seen as a core aspect of successful aging, including feeling more energetic and capable. So it's almost as if, as we move along in years, it's more important to continue to add a playful lens, right? Remember, I don't know if this was a thing when you were growing up. I don't know if it's still a thing really, but these like over the hill parties, like a birthday party when you hit 40 or 50 or something like that. And it's like, if you think of it like our life like a bell curve, it's sort of scary slash sad when you're like, oh, I've reached like the pinnacle and now I'm on like the downward trajectory toward death. Dun dun dun. Like I always thought it was like such a, like a pessimistic. I think it was supposed to be funny, right? But like anyway, I think if you consider that you have more maturity, more wisdom, and if you have the capacity to add more play, it can make your later years just more rich.
Yeah. It's interesting to think like in that like in that example of, oh, we're over the hill or whatever, it's all downhill from
Mhm.
here. it is a playful attitude, but it's interesting to think about, like, literally what it means and just how our subconscious integrates that. So it makes me think about, when does play get us into trouble? Like, playful attitude is great, but then if we're making jokes about things that are very serious, or like viewing it in that perspective, interesting.
It's like how self-deprecating humor or sarcasm, I'd have to look it up, but I would be willing to bet that the the correlation of overall well-being when those types of play are used only is probably less beneficial, would be my guess. Sometimes it can be a fun lens to go through, like, but generally it's like it's trying to play with the negative, but I think it's probably not as
Hmm.
helpful as just an overall positive spin on play.
Yeah, let's look it up.
Let's do it.
Is sarcasm beneficial play?
And self-deprecating too, that would be interesting.
So I'm seeing, it says sarcasm can be a kind of playful wit, but it's only beneficial play in specific conditions of high trust, mutual understanding, and low emotional stakes. So it says it can be healthy play in close, trusting relationships. Shared sarcasm can become a private, playful language that deepens bonds and creates a sense of us.
Mm.
Or used lightly and occasionally, it can add humor, soften mild criticism, and help vent tension without going fully into conflict, right? When it stops
Yeah.
being play, sarcasm is a form of verbal irony that often carries hidden criticisms or contempt, right? So
Yeah.
often, like, there's some truth in it, and we're making light of something that's true, and it's not necessarily playful. It's like both sides aren't consenting to the play, you
And then
know?
it seems like the person who's kind of dishing that out is maybe lacking in some skills to bring up some resentments or tensions that they're holding,
Mhm.
right? And this is their sort of passive aggressive way to get it out. I
Mhm.
guess that's what I think of sarcasm sometime as that, there's an elephant in the room, there's something I'm not addressing, and I'm going to be passive aggressive about it instead, which is never, I don't think, a good thing.
Yeah.
Always best to just confront it, and if you can confront it and have a playful lens to it, then great, but like, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like both parties have to really be into it
Mhm.
in order for it to work. Otherwise, yeah, you're bringing things out sideways. Hmm. Yeah, because it's saying we really need trust in beneficial play. We need consent and clarity, and then the proportion needs to be correct, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's making me think about, like, if we have natural ways that we're oriented to certain types of humor. So when I was a young child, and I was an only child, so like I didn't have, I guess, as many points of reference for maybe different types of play or humor, given that I often played on my own or whatever. But anyway, I used to watch The Three Stooges, which even when I was growing up was old school, but it's very slapstick, it's very, like, physical humor. They're knocking each other on the head and trying to poke each other's eyes out, and just I don't know why, but I thought it was hilarious. And I was like, "What does that say about me that just the ludicrous and, like, the physical humor is, like, I don't know, it's theatrical in a way. It's so out there silly, like Jim Carrey with a lot of his early work, right? He was just like Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. It was goofy, right? It just there's a real childlike ridiculousness about it all, which
mhm.
I found entertaining.
Yeah, so that slapstick, I mean, if you look at it literally, they're hitting each other on the head, that's not very kind or nice or anything like that. But if you're like, they're just trying to be as funny as they can and entertain us as much as they can and just be playful, then that's a different lens.
Well, they're not really getting hurt because they're acting, right?
Yeah.
So it would be different if you really thought, "Oh, like, are they really hitting each other on the head? Are they really getting hurt?"
Ah,
But you
yeah.
know that they're not. So then you can take that element of risk or something out of it in a way. It's just fun. Do you think you have a natural orientation to a certain type of humor or play that feels like, I don't know, more intrinsic to your nature?
I think I like playing a lot. I feel very, I don't know, that aspect of me is, I don't know, young or immature. Interesting to think about that, like play as immature, whereas seriousness is mature.
Mhm.
Um, we can unpack that idea, but I love playing, you know, I love just throwing rocks in the water. It's just play. It's just fun. I
Mhm.
see a pond and I see a rock and I just want to throw it in. I see a stick and I see a tree and I just want to whack the stick against the tree. I see some leaves. I just want to toss them on somebody. I don't know. In terms of that's like in terms of play. I guess in terms of like humor, I don't know. Just generally very funny.
You're hilarious. Yep. So I wanted to talk about play in the context of our new project, Yoga, Earth, and Soul. We came up with a diagram for important aspects of connection. So we're still trying to name it, but there's four aspects in this model to connect with four pieces. So I'll list them out and then we can talk about how we can maybe incorporate more play to create deeper connections in these areas. So it's with self, others, nature, and spirit. So in some ways, we already talked about the benefits of well-being, and that would be a lot of the self stuff, right? How it can help us overcome some anxiety and depression, how it can create more happiness and, general health and all that. And then certainly in terms of how we connect to others and how that's beneficial for our bonds. So we might have hit two of the four already, but I'm wondering if you can speak to ways to engage more playfully with nature and with spirit, if you have any ideas on that.
I guess when I think about playing with nature, it's like letting go of our walking into nature without that expectation, right? Or without a goal. So maybe you're
Yeah.
going for a walk around a pond, but you're just like, I'm just open to whatever experience comes. So maybe you end up seeing a beautiful loon and you just watch the loon and that's what happens. Or maybe you get just like mesmerized by the sunset or just like being open, I guess, is the play with nature. And then maybe it's tuning into our intuitive sense, like being open to what's our next step, like which direction do I go, and getting out of the pattern. And
Mm,
yeah, thinking about or allowing ourselves to be creative. So we see something and we're curious about it, go look at it more closely or pick it up, feel what it feels like. Or you get the urge to climb the tree. Well, what happens when I hang on the branch? Can I climb it?
mm,
Um, yeah, just being, I guess, curiosity, I'm thinking, is like being very curious and open is maybe a doorway to playing in nature or with nature. I guess start with the foundations of, okay, create safety, comfort. So, like, wear proper clothing, yeah, don't take too big of a risk like physical risk or something. Like be safe, right, around it, and then I guess also in terms of time, so like manage your time well, so you like I have this hour to be here, and then yeah, just explore and play.
I love that. That's how I orient myself to nature, and I feel like I have since I was a kid. I was, building forts and, like rubbing moss on my skin and just I don't know, I was just wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And it's making me think I haven't read the book yet, but it's coming up in our Yes book club is learning more about awe. So I can find the full title of the book here. Give me one second. Okay, so the book is called Awe, The New Science of Everyday Wonder and How It Can Transform Your Life by Dasher Keltner. And my general understanding is that it is being in touch with the vastness that you experience when you view the universe, the cosmos, nature as, a bigger thing than you that can create it's almost like the overlap of nature and spirit there. So I'm really looking forward to digging into that because I feel like when you see nature with that kind of reverence, that it can bring you more awe and enables you to see wonder and everything, then that feels playful. It feels big and exciting, and you want to engage with all the little parts and big parts of it. And then I guess that's maybe a little bit of a segue into spirit is what if playfulness in general was a spiritual practice? So that you can be in deeper relationship with the divine through curiosity and delight and awe and play and all of that. So it would be like the opposite of the dogmatic, like, I have all the answers. There's this rigid way to be spiritual versus what if I just engage with things I used to love in childhood? What if I move my body in fun ways? How do I create practices around prayer or meditation, but that's lighthearted or, yeah, just tapping into the joy and playfulness that allows the divine to be kind of dancing with us, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm thinking that if we view the entire world as the spirit playing,
Mm.
um, it's just a different perspective. So it's like a playful lens on everything. So
Can you say that again? If we view the entire world as the divine playing or as spirit playing?
yeah, spirit playing. Yeah. Yeah, in Sanskrit, there's a term, lila, and it's divine play.
Mm.
So the idea is that if I have a hard day, something comes up, I can view it as the perspective of, oh, this is such a challenge for me to deal with. It's a headache. Or if I view it like, oh, wow, this is just spirit playing with me and kind of like seeing how I'll react in the situation, then it's just a different perspective. It's a little bit more lighter and the very temporary world that we live in, right? This is happening now. Spirit's playing with me, and I'm gonna, yeah, play with it and get through it.
That's so beautiful. Really, really beautiful. I mean, it's one thing to take, adversity or stresses or frustrations or whatever more lightly and to say that, but to think of it as the divine playing with maybe it's a lesson, right? Like, oh, what am I meant to learn here?
Hmm.
But that it's not a punishment, right? I guess that was a lot of my trouble with the religion I was born into was, it was like you're a born sinner and you'll go to hell if you don't do things in this sort of religious way, or but the idea that no, not at all, like we're born divine, and if challenges do come our way, it's not because we're being punished for a wrongdoing. It is that there's like a lesson in here, and what if we can see it that way through that perspective and bring a curiosity to it. Oh, how could I overcome this? How could I overcome this with some semblance of joy, humor, and approach of play,
Mhm.
That's great.
Also, if we think about divine play, we talked about play as not having a set outcome. It's
Mhm,
just for the enjoyment of it. So, there's this idea that, yeah, I guess, spirit is just playing in a way. It's just it's curious about itself. Spirit's curious about itself, so we have all these scenarios that it can learn about itself. So, if I have spirit in me, this local address of spirit in me can have a unique curiosity and understanding of the world. The spirit in you can have a unique curiosity and understanding of the world. So spirit understands itself through many different perspectives. And that's, yeah, divine play.
mm. It's making me think back to physical intimacy a little bit, right? Like how that play and in tantra, that can be seen as like sacred play, right? Sacred
Hmm.
intimacy. And what if we looked at all the forms of play as a sacred endeavor,
Yeah.
as the ability to let our own spirit play through the vessel of our body, right? Like, how lucky are we that we have this body that we can do that with, right? We can be curious with, we can laugh, we can dance, Yeah.
Yeah. So then I was kind of mentioning, like, right, well, you have a certain aspect of spirit in you. I have a certain aspect of spirit in me. Those are unique. But then, like, even within me, I have different aspects, right? We're multidimensional beings. So I have a aspect of me that can explore life by playing with kids or playing like we think of as kids, right? Like,
Mhm.
or aspect of me that can explore through playing slapstick, like just like totally silly, wacky things, or exploring through wordplay, or through exploring the play of my physical limitations of my body, like really just like going full on play that way, or oh yeah, or yeah, thinking about playing physically, sexual connection with someone, like playing. So we have many different aspects of play that we can explore within ourselves. And the more kind of regions of that play that we have, the more we can learn about ourselves and get to know ourselves and open ourselves up more.
Yeah. And I would say if all of the research that we talked about wasn't reason enough, I think given the times we're living in America, we've got a lot of upheaval and people are afraid and the divisiveness is real. I think it feels like a radical act just to do something or live in the with the intention of fun, play, silliness, enjoyment, that aliveness that we've been given as a gift of life.
Hmm.
To not let certain powers that be influence our own ability to find play. I'm not saying that we don't do things to help people in need, that we just like live in la la land, but I think it's like we get to view these times through this lens and ask ourselves how we can use this beautiful skill of play for everyone's benefit. as
Yeah.
an act of resistance almost, you know?
Yeah, and I'm thinking about, like, even this podcast, or that's one thing I love about talking with you is very playful in a way for me because it's not always goal oriented. I don't always know where the conversation's going, and I usually don't know the answer when I start talking about something with you. And, I feel safe and in the space to play with my thoughts and just like
Mm,
say them and bounce them back and forth between us and see where it leads without necessarily an agenda. So it's not like I know the right answer and I'm trying to convince you of the right answer. It's more like these are my thoughts that I have. What do you think of that? Oh, that shifts my thinking, or it's a playful discussion. And that's one thing, like, I'm seeing, like, it's hard for even people to talk about things if they disagree with something as
mhm,
if they have the answer, right? So, like, more playful conversation, not that it's so witty and light and enjoyable playfulness, but it's play in that it's not goal oriented. We don't know where we're going. We're just doing it to do it. We're just talking about it to talk about it and see what comes of it. I think that would
mhm.
be huge for more people to do that now.
Yeah, yeah. And that spark of aliveness, this childhood yearning for play, even if it feels dormant in some adults that like, how could you try to encourage that through some kind of connection, especially for somebody who believes something different than you? Like, can you use your own playful approach to be curious about why it is that they have the beliefs that they have, and not not to catch them in a situation where you can prove that they're wrong, but to genuinely, like, not have an end result in mind? And I mean, unless that's maybe some kind of connection or an understanding, but not try to, like, convince them of something else just to connect and just to understand, would be like a beautiful way to hopefully bring us a little more together.
Mhm. It's
Well,
almost
I have
like
a lot.
instead of saying, like, "Let's debate this topic," like, "Let's play with this topic," you know,
Ooh,
right?
yeah.
Let's just
Yep.
play with it and see where it goes. And
Mhm.
it's not like we're gonna find the right answer, but maybe we can all learn something about ourselves and about the world by engaging in play.
I definitely think that's what we do here on this podcast. You're talking about, yeah, let's play with this topic. Like, we have a topic each time, but we, as you said, just go with the flow and see where it takes us,
Yeah.
which is fun. And I'm really grateful that I get to do that with you, not just the podcast, life in general, and that we get to be silly with each other. And I love that so much. I think you have taught me how to have a more positive approach to life, but also maybe a little bit of a lighter one, in the way that you approach things with childlike curiosity and playfulness.
Mhm.
Any last tips or thoughts for people?
My thought would be to play more. I think most of us can use more play, maybe to think about playing every day. So, what aspects of your life could you add in more play? Maybe it's in your cooking, maybe it's in your exercise routine, maybe it's in your relationship with your friends, maybe it's in something at work you could add in a little playfulness. Maybe it's in your intimate relationship if you have a partner or partners. Maybe it's with your kids. Certainly play with your kids as much as you can, I think is great. Play with ideas, right? That's probably huge thing. Like, that's what we do in the yoga teacher training. We just play with our ideas, we have a thought or a belief about ourselves or about the world, and we play with it and we explore, like, yeah, like the Byron Katie thing, is it true? What if
Mhm.
what if it wasn't true? How would you feel? Just explore and play with these ideas and allow everything to be questioned and play with it and then see what comes of that. There's no harm in playing if everyone is consenting and into it, right? Because it's just a game. You can write something down. You can journal for 10 minutes and play with an idea. It takes you 10 minutes. Maybe it brings up some emotion, so maybe there's some challenge or emotional cost there to do that play, but at the end of those 10 minutes of playing with your words and thoughts, you can decide if you came up with anything of value that you want to keep in your life or if you want to crumple it up and throw it away.
Yeah. I wonder if you wanted to share any of your sutra with us as we close out.
Sure. So here's the Sutra of Playful Intimacy. It says, remember, before words were spoken, before roles were taken, before masks were worn, we knew how to play. Consider the wolf cubs tumbling, learn trust through teeth. The dolphin pods dancing find joy through movement. The human hearts connecting discover truth through laughter. Know that play is not frivolous, but fundamental, not distraction, but a direct path, not an escape, but an entrance to our truest selves. Understand, in play we drop pretense, like trees drop leaves. In play we shed armor, like snakes shed skin. In play we forget fear, like birds forgetting gravity. See how laughter dissolves barriers that words cannot breach, how playfulness bypasses defenses that logic cannot persuade, how joy creates openings that effort cannot force. Let's practice being silly without shame, being curious without judgment, being spontaneous without planning, being present without purpose. Feel how play softens the serious heart, how play lightens the weary mind, how play awakens the dormant body, how play reveals the hidden soul. That's probably good for now.
I have a few quotes on play. All of them have unknown authors, but I like them. Play is how we practice being alive. That feels true. And play brings us back into the present moment. It's like you're engaging more fully with life when you incorporate play. Thanks for tuning in to That's So Intimate. If this episode sparked something for you, hit subscribe and share it with someone you care about. We're growing this beautiful community, one conversation at a time.
Got a word or topic you want us to explore? Send us an email or find us on Instagram. We love hearing from you. We'll be back next week with more connection, curiosity, and intimate conversation.